Welcome everyone to the Quantifying Marketing's Impact for VCs presentation webinar. We have Rebecca on the call as well. So just real quick intros. I co-founded DigitalOcean back in 2012, where I was a CMO, and built the marketing team up from scratch, where we scaled revenues from 0 to over 100 million in annual run rate. DigitalOcean is a publicly traded company. It is one of the largest cloud infrastructure players in the market, focusing on the developer community and small businesses. So learned a lot through that journey. It was a very humbling journey. And then since then, I've been the CMO at Shortcut, a global software project management company that competes directly with Atlassian. And then I started Welcome Homes, which is an online home building platform where home buyers can order the dream home online. Really cool concept. So I was there as a CMO for 6 years. And then Rebecca and I started Maximize, a marketing consultancy group that accelerates customer acquisition for B2B companies. And we've worked with early stage all the way to large scale enterprise businesses. So I'll let Rebecca introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you all took the time to join us today. I'm Rebecca Mosner. I'm also a managing partner at Maximize. And I've spent the last 7 years of my career in B2B marketing. I've focused mostly on SaaS companies in the developer ecosystem and developer tools. Prior to Maximize, I was leading social at MongoDB, where in the first year alone, we saw a 600% increase in community engagement under my leadership. And then before that, I was at DigitalOcean. And Maximize, I really focus on content development and distribution and community growth.
So I'll tell everyone a fun story about the early DO days. I was at a board meeting. This was one of our early board meetings, and we were reviewing the marketing metrics for DigitalOcean, and everyone was shocked when they heard that our CAC was extremely low, and our CAC LTV ratio and CAC recovery time were very attractive. So much so that everyone was urging me and encouraging me to spend more on marketing, which is a great problem to have. So, DigitalOcean, what we found is that 70% of new customers that registered landed on a tutorial before they signed up. And a large reason why our CAC was so low is because of our content marketing efforts. We had over 1,000 tutorials on the website that generated roughly 5 million unique visits to the site per month. And, on this chart, you can see that we're in the top quartile of public companies, for our CAC payback in months, which we'll go through later on in the deck of what that means exactly. But basically, this deck will give investors as well as CEOs and founders the confidence they need to, hit the gas on their marketing spend if the metrics prove that things are working well. And also, if the metrics aren't working well, what are some things that we can do to improve efficiency, improve results and performance? So we'll talk through all of that. But needless to say, we spent more on marketing after that board meeting. So we'll go through calculating key metrics, and we'll review some of the terms and terminology that I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with. So some of this may be table stakes, but you may learn something new. So attribution, also known as where customers come from. You have first touch, you have last touch, you have multi-touch. Obviously, this is just a way to track where your leads, your signups, your customers come from. Multi-touch attribution gives you the most accurate representation of which source should be attributed for that lead or conversion. While first touch and last touch attribution gives 80% accuracy, which works fine for any early stage company to give you a baseline to work with. So the most important thing here is if you're going to use any one of these attribution methods, just make sure that you're using it consistently and you're using it as a baseline so you can measure and improve. All right, the famous CAC metric. So this is a great metric to really dive into and to talk about a little bit more in depth, because I think a lot of companies, when they're measuring their customer acquisition cost, try to shortcut and only include ad spend, for example, to calculate how much they're spending and how many customers they're acquiring to calculate their CAC. So that's not the right way to do it. If you're an investor and you're looking at a business to invest in, or you have a portfolio company, they should be measuring including not just ad spend, but also, the sales and marketing salaries. Again, if they're a B2B sales driven business, they should be including their sales headcount as well as their marketing headcount, software expenses, as well as ad spend, which I just mentioned. And that should give you a more accurate view into your customer acquisition costs. So the formulas to the right, total sales and marketing costs over a specific period of time divided by the number of new customers acquired in that period of time. So it's important to throw in the kitchen sink. It's better to get a real, honest, accurate view into how much you're actually spending to acquire a customer, because you shouldn't just be looking at it in terms of one layer. You should be throwing in everything to get the full picture. Customer lifetime value, CLTV or LTV. I've seen it written down both ways. We'll use LTV here because it's shorter. So LTV is average monthly revenue per account times gross margin percentage, and then divided by monthly churn rate. So this metric is incredibly important, because once you have your CAC metric, you need LTV to gauge whether or not you're driving an efficient marketing effort. So it's important to take gross margin into consideration here. I see a lot of companies only include total monthly revenue per account or average monthly revenue per account without the gross margin. That's not the right way to do it. So you want to make sure you're including gross margin to LTV. And then this is, especially for early stage companies, CAC payback in months is extremely important to look at. So I consider CAC payback a key North Star metric for early stage companies, and even later stage companies. You can see from that chart prior with DigitalOcean being in top quartile for CAC payback. The reason for that is because LTV sometimes takes time for it to develop. If you start, sometimes customers take months and potentially years before they eventually churn out off the platform. So you don't really have an accurate churn rate to calculate your LTV. So months to recover customer acquisition cost is simply customer acquisition cost divided by average monthly revenue per customer times gross margin percentage, and that will give you your months to recover in CAC, months to recover your customer acquisition cost. So for subscription revenue business benchmarks, and a lot of these metrics are related to SaaS, monthly churn that is less than 3% is an ideal benchmark. You can see that the two charts, the two cohort performance charts side by side here. One with the one on the left is a greater than 3% monthly churn rate, and the one to the right is less than 3% monthly churn. You can see the one on the right with less than 3% monthly churn has a scaling cohort of revenue growth for that cohort. And then to the right, we have LTV to CAC ratio. and CAC payback period. So best in class, and I think what is the gold standards is to have a LTV to CAC ratio that's greater than 3x. So you want your LTV to be 3 times greater than your CAC number. And then months to recover CAC should be less than 12 months. So those are the gold standard benchmarks for subscription revenue businesses. And then for marketing costs as a percentage of overall revenue. So when you're thinking about, okay, how much of the business's budget should be allocated towards marketing, it's typically between 14 to 40% of annual revenue, depending upon how efficient the business is at acquiring new customers. So, and when you think about your annual budget, it's more often than not an annual projection, because if you're starting in Q1 or you're planning 2024 and Q4 of 2023, you're thinking about, all right, what is our revenue goal? What is our revenue target for the year? And then you could back into a marketing budget. 40% is on the higher end. That's if, again, your CAC is extremely low and you are retaining existing customers. So your LTV is high and your CAC payback period is attractive. You can lean more towards the 40% range versus the 14%. So this is, again, this is just a guideline. It could be less than 14%. It could be more than 40%, depending upon how well the business is doing. I would say for companies that are struggling with customer acquisition, you definitely want to taper below 14% till you figure out how to drive leads and customer acquisition more consistently, and/or maybe the business needs to spend more time figuring out their product market fit. So conversion rates, obviously this is geared more specifically to a B2B SaaS funnel. So you have at the top of the funnel, website visit to lead, which is typically 2.5%. So this is someone that hits your homepage and then eventually signs up and registers. So that typically is a 2.5% range. So, and what's good about these benchmarks is, if there is a area of the funnel that is underperforming, drastically, like let's say your website visit is to lead is 0.5%. Well, maybe there's an opportunity to improve your, the call to actions and the conversion rate percentage for your homepage. And then you have leads to MQLs, which is 20 to 30%. MQLs to SQLs, so marketing qualified leads to sales qualified leads, 25 to 30% conversion rates. And then SQLs to one, which is 6 to 12%. And this may or may not have a opportunity stage in between, which in some sales funnels, you do see an opportunity stage. So hopefully this gives everyone an idea of how their companies or portfolio companies are performing in terms of the conversion rates for their funnel, their sales funnel. When you're acquiring leads or when generating leads and acquiring customers, it's easy just to look at a very surface level in terms of performance. So, what's your cost per lead? What's your cost per acquisition for a customer? But once you get to a certain size and scale, you need to look a little bit deeper into those cohorts or those channels. So measuring like CAC and CAC payback per channel versus a blend of everything, which a lot of companies do. So it's important to measure your CAC payback per channel, your LTV per channel, and then I would even say your total revenue generated per channel. So in this example, you have content marketing, which could be, everything from like your, video content to your, our articles or blogs that get redistributed on social. And then you have Google Ads. Of course, everyone's familiar with Google Ads. And then a channel partner as another example of a channel. So you got a partnership with XYZ company that's generating business for you. So looking at everything in terms of, in terms of, on a channel by channel basis, you also want to dig into understanding what, how is the budget aligned with what's working? So with content marketing could be generating the vast majority of signups and conversions, and your CAC payback is at 9 months, your LTV is at 1,000. It's a very healthy channel compared to the others. But then you look at the budget and you're like, well, we're only spending 300,000 on our annual budget on the content marketing team versus 750,000 for Google Ads, 750,000 for the channel partner. So we're spending 1.5 million on these other two channels and only 300,000 on our best channel. So I asked, I come across this problem a lot with early stage companies, specifically on, just having their budget misallocated to what's actually working. You'd be surprised of how many people or how many companies would say, well, content's doing the best. It's outperforming everything. We get most of our leads or signups from organic inbound. And then my next question to them would be how much are you spending on your content marketing team? What's your total investment? How many people did you hire? Well, we have like 2 people on the team. So, spending roughly 200 to 300,000 a year, and versus how much are you spending in the other areas of your marketing team and in advertising? And it's just shocking that, like, it seems so obvious once you uncover the numbers and you uncover the metrics, but that's why it's important to look at each channel individually and to grade the performance of each channel individually at the deepest level possible. Give me 1 second. Okay, so measuring brand awareness. This is like a black box. Obviously, everyone can be intimidated by how to measure brand, how to measure the effectiveness of brand marketing. There's different ways to do it. So you have what's called aided versus unaided awareness surveys that you can send through third-party providers to see how many people know of your brand in a specific market. And then you have brand sentiment, which you can use social media monitoring tools to gauge your positive and or negative sentiment for your brand. You have share of voice. If you contract a PR agency, they typically have share of voice tools that can tell you how often you're mentioned in articles versus your competitors. And then finally, your web traffic, which is straightforward, which you can pull from Google Analytics. But these should be your kind of baseline metrics for how to measure your company's brand awareness. And then sometimes you can't measure the return. So this was another interesting story at DigitalOcean. We paid $25,000 to an illustrator to improve the mascot design. I was sitting in the meeting. My founders thought there was no way to justify the expense for the mascot for DigitalOcean, which is called Sammy the Shark. Fast forward to today, Sammy the Shark is on millions of stickers or millions of laptops on stickers around the world. Hundreds of thousands of t-shirts have been produced, specifically Hacktoberfest, if anyone's familiar with Hacktoberfest. And investing in brand is very much a long-term investment and has a long tail effect. So it takes years sometimes for it to play out, but its returns can be exponential and unmeasurable. So, what I would say is, invest in obviously your direct response channels, your performance marketing channels, invest in content, but there's also long-term investments that you can make with your brand that can generate unmeasurable results. So it was a very, very cool story, because the $25K that we spent obviously was, the ROI on it was much greater than the $25K. So it was a great investment at the time. We posted some resource links here. So a lot of the metrics that we mentioned in the deck, in the presentation, were pulled from various sites, included this for Entrepreneurs site, which is great for any SaaS business to take a look at, or B2B business. And then include some links here to our website where you can watch a deep dive into how to scale a content marketing engine at your business or your company or portfolio company's business. So feel free to share these links with your founders, or if you are a founder CEO, feel free to watch and share with your marketing leader. But hopefully this was helpful. I think we'll have time to dig in here and cover some questions.